Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer and today I'm going to be reacting to Unnatural Vegan's video on Objectivism. If you don't know who Unnatural Vegan is, she's basically this vegan YouTuber who does reaction videos, and most of the time she's reacting to videos of other vegans and kind of giving constructive criticism on their diets or on their lifestyles, but she does other things. And apparently at some point she dabbled with Objectivism and she made a video saying why she gave up on Objectivism. The title of her video is Why I Give Up on Objectivism. I have not seen it, so I'm gonna watch it and react to it because I'm an objectivist myself and I wanna see what she said and what scared her off. Now, why do I know about Unnatural Vegan? Well, believe it or not, I used to be a vegan. Yes, I was a vegetarian first for about 8 years and then a vegan for about 6 years, but then I gave it up. And that's a story for another day. Maybe I'll do a video about it. But yeah, even though I'm not a vegan anymore, I still like to watch vegan channels every now and then, including Unnatural Vegan's channel because she's a smart person. She has interesting commentary and she has a very grounded view on veganism, I think. So that's why I watch her channel, even though I'm not a vegan anymore. But then I saw that she had this video, Why I Gave Up Objectivism, and I have not seen it. I'm a little nervous to watch this because I can already predict that she's going to be criticizing Objectivism or Ayn Rand. And as someone who lives by their philosophy, I feel like I'm gonna feel defensive, like, no, that's not true. But you know, I'm gonna try to be as objective as possible. But I'm already like predicting that I'm gonna be cringing if she's saying things that are false, because this video has like 51,000 views. So 51,000 people have watched her video and she might be dissing Objectivism. So that's it's triggering. Anyways, let's get to watch this. Hey guys, I'm currently editing this project and I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer that I'm not gonna put my full reaction to the video. I'm only going to include my reaction to the parts of the video that I find the most interesting. I really don't want to watch it, but somebody has to do it.
A lot of people have had this experience. It's kind of a trope at this point, I guess. You know, the kid, usually a male, you know, teenager, reads The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged and becomes enlightened. She was not a good writer. Anyway, and then I read The Fountainhead.
First of all, she just said that Ayn Rand's not a good writer, which, like, she's a really good writer, in my opinion. Triggered. Okay, I'm not even 2 minutes in and she's already making claims that the majority of people who feel attracted to Ayn Rand's books are hard-headed people who are individualistic. I don't know what she means by hard-headed, but is individualistic a bad trait? I'm not sure if she's using it as an insult. Also, not even 2 minutes in, she states that she not only read the novels, but she also read the nonfiction, and that's when she decided that she was an objectivist. So that's kind of like a common journey for people. Most people who become objectivists don't just read the novels. People who want to follow the philosophy, they also read a lot of the nonfiction, and that's what eventually convinces them to be an objectivist.
Really the vast majority of objectivists, really every single objectivist / libertarian I've ever met, and I've met quite a few, has been well off.
That's a common mistake to group objectivism with libertarianism because objectivism strongly criticizes libertarianism. But anyway, she says that most objectivists and libertarians that she's ever met have been well off or like close to rich, and then of course they'll be fine with selfishness because, you know, why would they want to share their wealth? Well, my experience is the opposite. Most of the objectivists that I know are normal people with normal incomes. For example, myself, not a wealthy person and not male, because she also says that most of the objectivists she knows are male, rich males. Just putting it out there, there are all kinds of objectivists from all socioeconomic levels.
I mean, pretty much every single objectivist / libertarian I've known has been a good person. I know the idea is that, oh, they're all racist and terrible, but that honestly has not been my experience.
Objectivists are racist? Who thinks that? I mean, first of all, Ayn Rand was Russian, Jewish, and she wrote extensively against racism. Yeah, I'm not even halfway through the video and I already can tell that she has nothing new to say that I haven't heard before from people who've given up on objectivism. They're like, well, it's because the real world doesn't work like that. You can't really have a society without taxes. You can't really have a society without regulations because there's too many people who have needs and, you know, somebody has to take care of them. She's just regurgitating what I've heard a lot of people say. And like I've talked about in past videos, nobody is disputing the fact that there is suffering in the world. What Ayn Rand and Objectivism were trying to convey is that it is immoral to force people to give up their personal property for whatever reason. Even if you have a novel reason like helping others, it is immoral to force people to do something they don't want to do. A better way to go about providing help for the needy would be through, you know, private institutions instead of having the government use force to make people give up their income to help others.
You know, there are tons of people in this country who cannot function in society because of their brain. They just can't hold down a job. And so as an objectivist, you're saying that, well, sucks to be you.
First of all, that is not the case. Being an objectivist does not preclude you from having empathy. And let's say if we lived in a full objectivist society, do you think people would just look at a disabled person just walk past? No, especially if it's an objectivist person with means that has empathy, like all of us, we have empathy. And if you have the means, you would probably want to help them in some way by creating an organization or something, but it has to be done as a private venture. As soon as the government starts controlling it and they start making it mandatory, that's when, you know, things go south.
It was really fun, but slowly but surely I started to move away from it because honestly, a big part was veganism because I became vegan, I guess it was a few years after I became an objectivist when I did actually embrace animal ethics and animal rights. That just doesn't fit into objectivism.
Okay, now she's gotten to one point that is actually interesting. One of the biggest reasons that she moved away from objectivism is because she discovered veganism. So when she embraced vegan ethics, you know, animal rights and other things, that was the biggest thing that was not compatible with objectivism. Because yes, objectivism does not recognize animal rights, but that doesn't mean that it encourages violence against animals. Ayn Rand herself was a big lover of cats.
Someone told me that I could be totally wrong about this, but I remember someone telling me that she actually had a big problem because she loved animals. I think she had like peacocks too or something. And that was something that she kind of agonized over, that there was no place for animals in her philosophy. And instead of going, hey, maybe my philosophy is absolute shit, it was like, well, oh well. So that was a big thing for me.
The real reason why Ayn Rand could not factor animal rights into objectivism is because animals do not have the capacity of recognizing rights and respecting rights. Like if you're a person walking around in Africa in a safari, a lion is not gonna see you and they say, you know what, I'm not gonna eat them because they have rights. Like that does not compute in an animal's head. That's why every day billions and billions of animals kill each other for food all the time, like every second of the day, because they just don't have the capacity. So that's why Ayn Rand did not include the concept of animal rights in objectivism. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the option of being respectful to animals and treating them as humanely as possible, including in a factory setting, in factory farming settings. I think the goal should be as humane as possible, and instead of, you know, keeping them in horrible conditions. Another thing that I've noticed while watching this video is that she just spends a lot of time just talking about Ayn Rand's support for capitalism, and you know, that's one of the main things that make her reject objectivism, because she doesn't think that capitalism works for people of all socioeconomical backgrounds. And I think she's wrong. I think capitalism, it's the best system for lifting people out of poverty. But one of the things that I want to say is that she has forgotten completely about all of the other aspects of Ayn Rand's philosophy, which are the focus on happiness, on having self-esteem, on pursuing your values and not giving up your values for the sake of others. It's not just not giving up your money for the sake of others. It's not giving up your values for the sake of others. So anybody really could benefit from this perspective. Let's say you are someone who really wants a career in X field, whether you're poor or rich, you really want to pursue a career in that field, but your family is pressuring for you to follow a career in Y field. And they're only gonna be happy if you follow a career in the white field. Well, when we follow altruism, people are gonna give up their desire to follow a career in X field to make their family happy, and they're gonna be unhappy, but they're like, well, at least my family is happy. That's what Ayn Rand's philosophy is fighting. That's a huge aspect of objectivism. People need to stop giving up their values and start living for themselves. And it's not just about economics and politics. There's a lot more to be said about how you live your life in general and the choices that you make to make your life better. Also, she keeps saying that following objectivism is easy. Well, first of all, I'm not trying to say that oh my gosh, she's wrong, following objectivism is hard, because it's not like that. It's not like there's a set of rules that you have to follow. It's more about understanding it. For example, rational self-interest. Objectivism encourages you to be self-interest in a rational way. And that's something sometimes that it's hard to understand. Like, is it just following your whims, or is it really introspecting and seeing what's like the best option for you, but that doesn't hurt others? In that sense, it's not easy, you know. In that sense, it requires a lot of thinking. And she's basically saying that as long as you follow all the rules, objectivism is super easy. And I'm just like, okay. It's disappointing to see that she went from having like an understanding of objectivism to like now it looks like she does not understand it at all.
I guess the final thing I'll say, the other thing that can make objectivism so appealing and moving away from it so hard is that it gives you license to be a good person without really doing anything. I mean, to be fair, I think most of us see ourselves as good, even if we don't really do anything, right? Like, as long as you don't murder people or like rape anybody, you're a good person, right? Which is kind of a low bar to clear. But objectivism takes that even further. You know, most people don't view their selfish acts as good. We may try to, convince ourselves that we didn't really do it or justify it or something, but we know it's not good. Whereas objectivism is like, no, you're good for doing that. As long as it's not infringing on anyone else's rights, you're totally in the right. You don't have to go out of your way to help other people. That's not important. If you want to do that, okay, fine, whatever. But don't feel like you have to, which is great. It's really satisfying, because you can just live your life like most of us do without, really harming other people or trying to harm them. And you're automatically a good person. And you don't have to view people who go out of their way to, give money or spending time volunteering. They're not really any better than you.
And then now she goes on to talk about the fact that in the objectivist system, people are considered a good person as long as their actions don't infringe other people, even if they're not helping other people. So as long as they're not hurting other people, even if they're not helping other people, then that's a good person in the objectivist system, according to her. So from her perspective, you can only be good if you're going out of your way all the time to do things for people. Just living your life and trying to not be a burden to others, just living your life, trying to provide for your family is not enough to be a good person. You would have to live your life, provide for your family, and then try to do things for others. Then you would be a good person. It's not enough for her to just live one's life to be a good person, which obviously I disagree with.
Give money or spending time volunteering. they're not really any better than you. It's very, very, very appealing. And moving away from it means that you have to acknowledge that, yeah, there are a lot of people who are much better than you, who spend their money on other people, who spend their time on other people, and other people not just being their children and their family members, but people they don't even know. Those people are amazing. Those people are better than you. It's a hard thing for people who are egotistical, but who aren't like sociopaths, which is a lot of people. There are very few sociopaths.
Well, let's think about this for a while. Why are those people volunteering? It has to be for one or two reasons. One, they have more means, more time to volunteer. Therefore, how could you judge the other person who doesn't have the time and the means to volunteer? Like, oh, they're not good. Well, obviously, you can be better when you have more things to give out or more time to give out. Or the other reason is that this other person is engaging in sacrifice, in altruism. The reason they are volunteering is because they're giving up their own time that they could be spending working and paying their bills, and they're basically sacrificing so that's what you're admiring, the fact that they're giving up their life just to help other people. That's not admirable. That's tragic. Unless you have a lot of means to spend time in volunteering, which is great. If you don't have the means to go spend your time volunteering and you're still doing it, that's terrible for you, because you are sacrificing yourself. You're sacrificing your life. That does not make you a better person. That just makes you a tragic person. Okay, I also wanted to add regarding this concept of being a good person. Well, first of all, Ayn Rand never used the term, you're a good person if you do this, or you're a good person if you do that. That's never said. However, what Ayn Rand's philosophy exposes is the fact that, conventional morality in normal society, blah, 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 people are used to measuring goodness in respect to others. Your life is only as valuable as how much impact it has in other people's lives. But what I learned from Objectivism is that the value of your life should not be measured in those terms. It should be measured on how much you're doing for yourself. Are you living your life or not? So if I had to say what is a good person, like me, Jennifer, trying to define what's a good person in an objectivist, from an objectivist perspective, I would say that a good person is someone who is trying to live their life to the fullest, who's trying to achieve the most values for themselves, who's trying to be as happy as possible. A person who's taking responsibility for their life, who's not trying to make others be responsible for his or her life. And if an objectivist person wants to help others, that's perfectly fine, because that means that whatever cause they're helping, it's a value to them. For example, if I see a Facebook post that says, oh my gosh, I saw this dog on the road, he got run over, I took him to the vet, and here's the vet bill. Those are the type of causes I tend to contribute to, because animals are a value to me. So when I contribute to animal causes, I am contributing to the values that are important to me. But let's say we have a rich person who is rich, and it's a perfectly moral person. They've never hurt anybody. They have never scammed anybody. They have never abused anybody for their own gain. They're a perfectly moral person. But you know what? They don't really engage in philanthropy. They don't really contribute to causes. Their focus of their life is to do the things that are valuable to them, like traveling, going to spas, spending time with their family, and that's it. They're still a good person, believe it or not, minding their own business and living their life. And this is because we're not measuring their actions in respect to how much impact they have to other people. It's because they themselves are the only ones who should be measuring their actions in respect to themselves. If they are comfortable with their actions, if they are happy with the way they are behaving in the world, and they know they're being moral, that's enough. You don't have to do more. It's nice when you do more, obviously, but you don't have to. When you're doing stuff for others, I think it just says something about you, what causes you care about, what do you find valuable. And there's actually a really great quote by Ayn Rand that kind of illustrates this point. And it says, "For centuries, the battle of morality was fought between those who claim that your life belongs to God and those who claim that it belongs to your neighbors, between those who preach that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of ghosts in heaven and those who preach that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of incompetence on earth. And no one came to say that your life belongs to you and that the good is to live it. Your life belongs to you and the good is to live it. If you are living your life to the fullest, you are being good. If you are throwing your life away, wasting each day, you're not being a good person, but not in the sense of the impact that you're having on people, in the sense of the impact that you're not having on yourself. You are not doing anything good for yourself. Therefore, you're not a good person because you're not being good to yourself." And then it's funny because at the end of the video, she talks about, like, she stops talking about objectivism and she's like, anyways, I'm like trying to focus on being more productive lately, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the irony. To those who understand objectivism, like, being productive is very important. Anyway, if you're someone who doesn't really know objectivism, you just watched this video because I was reacting to Unnatural Vegan's video, I want to give you a little quote, short quote that better summarizes objectivism from Ayn Rand herself. "My philosophy, in essence, is the concept of man as a heroic being, with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as his only absolute." So the main three key points of objectivism is that your happiness is the most important thing. Like, if everybody worried about achieving their happiness in a moral way, not like by abusing others, if everybody focused on trying to achieve their happiness in a moral way, the world would be a much better place. And obviously capitalism is like a tool to achieve that, you know, by being able to trade and to retain your property and your wealth when you achieve it, that you don't have to be worried about, like, is the government going to seize my wealth? That's all part of like a person's journey to being happy, to be able to keep what they produce. And obviously the other key issue in objectivism is productiveness in a way, in the sense that you have to be happy, you have to achieve values that make you happy. Sometimes for some people it's gonna be making a lot of money, that's gonna make them happy, that's fine. For some other people, achieving values and being productive, it's a different type of situation. It might be traveling a lot or being around animals a lot, like that's what's valuable to them. Or maybe for some other people, a happy life, it's a modest life but surrounded by family, with having lots of kids. You know, there's no blanket definition of happiness because we're individuals. So productiveness, that's what it means, just to work to achieve your values, whether your values are ambitious and glamorous or they're more down to earth and homely or whatever. And the other key thing about objectivism is reason. You cannot leave your decisions to others. You cannot leave your decisions to society. You cannot leave your decisions to your family, to your friends, to religion, to tradition, to the tribe. You have to make decisions by yourself, by using your mind. You can't rely on others in terms of how you view the world and how you judge things. So those three things. And in this video on Unnatural Vegan, basically he just focused on the fact that objectivism is a philosophy that champions capitalism and that rejects altruism. It's kind of regrettable that she did not talk about any of the other things that are a part of objectivism. It makes me think that maybe it's because she never understood it in the first place. Anyways, if you're interested in hearing my journey with objectivism, I recommend you watch my video, How Ayn Rand Impacted My Life. And in that video, I admit that at the beginning, when you have a very limited understanding of objectivism, you focus a lot on the capitalistic aspect of it. And you're just like, I'm a capitalist. But then, you know, once you start studying more, you understand that there's a lot more to the philosophy than just politics and economics. For me, the most interesting and helpful fact of Objectivism is that it encourages you to live your life for yourself, to pursue your own happiness, and to try to achieve real values, not values that you only want because other people want them. Like it forces you, or it encourages you to really think what's really valuable to you without having society's expectations influence that view. Anyways, that was all for today. I feel like it's gonna be hard for me to watch Unnatural Vegan's videos now because that was very disappointing. I thought she was smart rather than that. Well, maybe, well, okay, it's easy to call her not smart when like she just dissed something that it's very valuable to me. So of course I don't think she's not smart, but I am offended. I am offended. Objectivism is a great philosophy and I encourage anybody to give it a try. You don't have to be rich to read Ayn Rand's books. Take it from me, I don't even have a car.